Welcome to Rico 12. I'm Justin B., your host and a child of an all-powerful, perfectly loving God and an addict living in the miracle of recovery one day at a time. Welcome to the continuation of the Saturday Rico 12 meetings. This is only the second time, maybe third time that we've done it on Saturday, but this is the pattern moving forward. At this time, we will be doing this moving forward, and happy to be in this new time slot. Spread the word to those people in your fellowships and in your communities to join with us on Saturdays. Rico 12 is an open to all addictions, afflictions organization dedicated to exploring the common threads of the differing manifestations of alcoholism, sharing tools and offering hope from those walking a similar path. So whether your thing is alcohol, drugs, sex, gambling, food, whatever, you're home here. We gather from diverse backgrounds, faiths, and locations to learn from and support one another. Our speakers come from various fellowships and experiences demonstrating the universal principles of recovery. Rico 12 is not allied or affiliated with any specific 12-step fellowship. This is Rico 12 speaker meeting number 439. Thank you for joining us live or in the recording later. Today's speaker is Debi S., who has spoken previously on several Rico 12 speaker meetings, and she'll be speaking on a topic she's entitled Step 12. The program in action. I look forward to diving into this conversation here in a few minutes, but first, a few quick announcements. We do at Rico 12 offer a variety of recovery resources, including other podcasts, social media communities, our WhatsApp groups. To explore more, visit Rico12.com, RECO12.com, or check the chat and show notes for links. We're always looking for speakers to share here. We're continuing to fill speakers in this new slot in June and July and moving forward. So if your higher power is moving you to share, please consider reaching out to me and we'll get it lined up. And to get on the email list so you know when the speaker meetings are being held, know a little bit about the speaker and the topic, send me an email at rico12pod@gmail.com. I'll get you on that email list. There are nearly 2,000 people on that list right now. Let's keep it growing. Rico 12 is self-supporting, and your contributions help us continue this message. For information on how to do that, I'll put stuff in the chat here in the show notes. You can also visit us at rico12.com/support. Thank you this week to Natalie for becoming a monthly Spearhead contributor. Any support, both financially and by word of mouth, truly makes a difference in helping us share these messages of recovery. Each week, we receive light and inspiration from our speakers. Their experience brings hope, meaning, worth, and growth to us as listeners. Now I'm going to welcome today's speaker, Debi S. I'm going to share a little bit about her from her bio. Debi's first meeting was in 1981. Her first sober date was in 1987. Her current, and thank you God, permanent sober date is January 31st of 1994. Debi had a long history of trouble at home, school, and the law from a very young age, including rehab, detox, jail, DUI, psych ward, diagnoses, medication, etc. None of those things made her willing to do anything. She tried many other methods in and out of the rooms of AA. She was dry 3.5 years for the second time and ready to suicide when she reached out for help with more humility and desperation than she'd ever before been able to muster, and allowed a recovered member and experienced sponsor take her through the big book and the steps. Debi finally had the vital spiritual experience the book talks about. She made all of her 9th step amends in a meaningful way and now lives in steps 10 through 12, falling more and more deeply in love with Alcoholics Anonymous. The consciousness of the relationship with her creator it has produced is the center of her life. Take it away, Debi. The floor is yours.
Excuse me. Debi, alcoholic. Gosh, all of a sudden, right before I'm going to push my timer. I said it, but I didn't start. Right before we started, I just had this wave of emotion come over me, and I don't even know where it came from. But I kind of love when that happens. I suspect it's a God thing, and I just want to say real quick, I have had a chance to do just a few of these over the last few years, and it's always such a wonderful experience. And I just am so grateful to be able to do it and so thankful to be asked again. So thank you very much. Again, my name's Debi. I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date is January 31st, 1994. That makes me 32. And I get to talk today about a little bit about my experience with the Step 12 and it so literally and clearly being the program in action. The program in action. And I'm more grateful for that than I know how to say. So what I've decided to do, and I hope it works. I mean, I didn't test it or practice or time it, but I'm going to try to run through a few things, primarily in the big book and just a couple in the 12 and 12 about step 12 that emphasize what I want to share from my heart about it. And then depending on how much time there is after that, hopefully I'll get to share just a little bit. And then even if not, we can use the question and answer to maybe get into some more dialogue. So regarding step 12, being the program of action, in action, I keep doing that. On page 60 of the big book, I don't expect anyone to do this with me, but I'm just mentioning pages as I go. On page 60 of the big book, it lists step 12. The steps are on 59 and 60. And 12 says, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And I don't know why, but honest to God, very recently, like when I was thinking about this talk and kind of getting into the literature just a little bit, it struck me how that's written in a way I'm not sure it ever has before. It's very, very past tense. It's almost as though what it's saying, the way it's written is that it's not so much the last step of action, but the result of the first 11. And that really stirred my spirit. It is my new spirit that has me trying to help others and practicing AA principles in all areas of my life. In fact, if I don't have a heart for it, I haven't yet been truly awakened. Like that's what happens here. And I just want to say for me, it took some faking it. It really did. It took some treating it very much like the last sort of step, sort of the final step of action. And honestly, it was lots and lots and lots of sponsorship that awakened me most. And I frequently say this, but I just love what Bill C., one of my favorite sort of circuit speakers. I think he qualifies as a circuit speaker. He frequently says, "Nothing has healed me more than trying to help you." And I remember the first time I ever heard him say that. I've heard him say it a number of times since. It's just, I don't know. It's gorgeous. It's very, very profound, and it's very much my truth. And it just touches me every time I hear it. And, I imagine many of us have heard, you can't keep it unless you give it away. Like that's fairly common. We say that a lot. Some old timers have taken to saying you can't even get it if you don't give it away. And that lines up with my experience. And I don't think I understood that at all until much, much, much later on. I really thought when I finished the steps, because I had learned a lot. And some things had changed. There's no question some things had changed. But I didn't begin to have this massive rearrangement and begin to awaken to some, like be completely transformed and begin to awaken to some things until I was deep into sponsorship. So that seems to be the truth for me. And, there are just chapters and chapters on the 12th step. And in the big book, chapter 7, working with others, which is just one of them, of course. But on page 89, I believe is where it starts. Yeah, on page 89, the first two paragraphs of working with others talk about, well, it says practical experience shows that nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking as intensive work with other alcoholics. It works when other activities fail. This is our 12th suggestion. Carry this message to other alcoholics. You can help when no one else can. You can secure their confidence when others fail. And, there's a couple of things about this I've really come to believe and been taught, but also come to believe, because I didn't always believe what I was being taught, is that the language of the big book is very, very deliberate. It really is. And so this says practical experience, like just long time experience of people doing this thing. Nothing, like absolutely nothing, will so much ensure immunity from drinking as intensive work with other alcoholics. And it uses the word intensive. So they seem to really want to be clear that we're not talking about like casual or occasional or if it feels right to you or if it's your thing. It's really critical. It's vital. It says it works when nothing else does. It works when all other activities fail. And it says it's the 12th step, like it's the 12th suggestion. And it says carry this message, not my message, not the current popular message going around the rooms, but the message of the big book, the message that we're studying. And then this just hit me like a ton of bricks a couple of years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. So I was still, been sober quite some time. Where it says you can help when no one else can, you can secure their confidence when others fail. I heard that like because we're alcoholic, we can help where no one else can. Like, for instance, a doctor or a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a therapist or, or a professional. I heard it that way. And I'm sure that's one way to interpret it. But the way that I suddenly heard it a few years back is no, no, no. It says you like Debi Smith, you can help where sometimes no one else can. And that just, I don't know, that changed the whole message for me. That was really, really rich and important for me. And it rings true for me, especially because I had so many people, including sponsors, before the woman I think of and refer to as my first real sponsor, who tried to help me. And I don't know, like I couldn't hear them. I couldn't let them. I wasn't even like buying them. It wasn't until that woman who I think of, her name's Sandy. It wasn't until Sandy could help me somehow, for some reason, Sandy could help me. I could hear her. I could hear her. I believed her. I believed her. And that has really taken on new meaning for me. And then it says life will take on new meaning, to watch people recover, to see them help others, to watch loneliness vanish, to see a fellowship grow up about you, to have a host of friends. This is what I love. It says this is an experience you must not miss. So it says this is our 12th suggestion, but then it says this is an experience you must not miss. That doesn't sound to me like, or you can do some service work, or you can get involved in, it says this is an experience we must not miss. We know you will not want to miss it, even if you don't know it, even if you don't believe it, even if you can't believe it until you experience it. That has just become so important for me. And then someone pointed out recently in a big book study I was in that up till now, the big book uses we, our, and us, like really throughout very, very, very consistently. It uses we, our, and us. But now all of a sudden, in step 12, chapter 7, working with others, suddenly it's you. And I think that's a really important point. It points to personal responsibility. The big book's not, the big book is suddenly saying, you, Debi, you need to be doing this. And I actually really appreciate that. And then chapter 11, A Vision for You, which I just find so beautiful. This is where I'm going to get a little bit sketchy because I didn't have a chance to review my notes well enough and mark my book well enough. So I'm just going to do what jumps out at me and hits my spirit. But I love chapter 11, A Vision for You. And on page 153, the very first two lines say, "Then you will know what it means to give of yourself that others may survive and rediscover life." This is how they talk about step 12. Then you will know what it means to give of yourself that others may survive and rediscover life. You will learn the full meaning of love thy neighbor as thyself. There is not another way to learn that. There just isn't. So you don't have to be good at this. You don't have to feel ready to do it. You know, you can make, if my experience means anything at all, you can and likely will make, nearly every small mistake there is, and probably a few of the big ones. And you know what? It'll still be okay. It'll still, in fact, it's necessary. And then on 154, the very next page, it talks about that dismal afternoon. And Bill says, one dismal afternoon, it says one dismal afternoon, he placed a hotel lobby wondering how his bill was to be paid. At one end of the room stood a glass-covered directory of local churches. Down the lobby, a door opened into an attractive bar. He could see the gay crowd inside. In there, he would find companionship and release. Unless he took some drinks, he might not have the courage to scrape an acquaintance and would have a lonely weekend. Of course he couldn't drink, but why not sit hopefully? I don't want to read the whole thing. See, this is where I wish I had but what ends up happening is, okay, here it is. But what about his responsibilities, his family, and the men who would die because they would not know how to get well? Ah, yes, those other alcoholics. God put that spirit on him. God put that, there must be many in this town. He would phone a clergyman. His sanity returned and he thanked God. Selecting a church at random from the directory, he stepped into a booth and lifted the receiver. I read that today and I think that saved AA and me. That decision saved AA and me. Thank God he didn't go into the bar. Thank God he made that call. And then sorry, I lost so what was the next one? 170, 150. So then 163 and 164.
Got questions about addiction, recovery, or just life in general? Let's noodle it out together. Grab your big book, a pen, a highlighter, and a notepad, and join Nikki M and me, Justin B, on Rico 12 Noodle It Out with Nikki M. Each episode, we take real-life questions, ours, yours, and those from the recovery community, and dig deep into the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous to find real, practical solutions. So, if you're ready to do the work and apply the solution, tune in to Noodle It Out with Nikki M, streaming now on your favorite podcast platform.
Okay, I'm going to skip this for time's sake. I wish I had for time's sake, I'm going to skip that. But in Dr. Bob's Nightmare, page 165, the very top, Dr. Bob's Nightmare, co-founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, the birth of our society dates from his first day of permanent sobriety, June 10th, 1935. I can't tell you how many times I've read that, heard it read, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it dawned on me just a couple of years ago that the birth of Alcoholics Anonymous is not like, why isn't it Bill's sobriety date? Why isn't it the first guy's sobriety date? It really hit me like a ton of bricks and what, I jokingly, I just mean, I thought God, what a moron. I missed the whole point. It was the birth of Alcoholics Anonymous is the first time the message was carried to the next man. The first time this 12-step was put into action. That's the birth of Alcoholics Anonymous, because that's what Alcoholics Anonymous is. It is not these meetings that we get to enjoy and hang out in and, and connect with other people and share stuff that's going on. That's not AA. This is AA. And I'm so grateful to understand that today. Dr. Bob spent his life passing it on every chance he got. Bill had some bigger ideas, but Dr. Bob just kept at the 12 step, begging us to keep it simple. And I am more grateful that I know how to say for the both of them. I love the both of them. They both did so much to save my life. But I just have a special heart for Dr. Bob. I love that. That's what he did. And then I just want to, as quickly as I can, is there a timer on here? No. Okay. In the 12 and 12, because I always like to just touch on that. In the 12 and 12, starting on 106 with step 12, it says the joy of living is a theme of AA's 12 step, and action is its key word. And it says, here we begin to practice all 12 steps of the program in our daily lives so that we and those about us may find emotional sobriety. When the 12th step is seen in its full implication, it is really talking about the kind of love that has no price tag on it. Our 12th step also says that as a result of practicing all the steps, we have each found something called a spiritual awakening. And I love what it says about a spiritual awakening. When a man or woman has a spiritual awakening, the most important meaning of it is that he has now become able to do, feel, and believe which he could not do before on his unaided strength and resources alone. He has been granted a gift, which amounts to a new state of consciousness and being. In a very real sense, he has been transformed. That's what the 12th step is, evidence of that transformation. That's what I love about it so much. The 12th step is evidence of that transformation. And then just a couple more, and then I want to share this one last thing, and I have just enough time. Oh, wow. Okay. Looking for my dot. Well, on 108, it says, we knew we would have to quit the deadly business of living alone with our conflicts and in honesty confide these to God and to another human being. It's talking about, oh, sorry about that. I got nervous because I can't find I missed it. This must be where I broke down a little bit. I think what I'm going to do is, here it is. Even the newest, so it talks about finding undreamed rewards as he tries to help his brother alcoholic, the one who is even blinder than he. So it really points to the fact that we don't have to be, a lot of times, like, we have to have something to offer. We have to have something to pass on. We have to have received it to give it, but it doesn't have to be perfect. It does. I mean, it's never going to be perfect, but I mean, it doesn't, we can have just made enough progress and got just well enough that we can be of use to the next man. And that's perfect. That is perfection. That's what we're looking for here. And then it also says, at the end of what I wanted to share in the 12 and 12, it says, he stands at the edge of new mysteries, joys, and experiences of which he had never even dreamed. Practically every AA member declares that no satisfaction has been deeper and no joy greater than in a 12-step job well done. So it really just, emphasizes that like crazy over and over and over again. And I just want to share this last thing. And perhaps it'll feed into the Q&A. But recently in the RICO 12 chat, there was a question posed by one of the members. about sponsorship. And it was a very specific question. I thought it was really great and meaningful. And the person who posed it and posted it in the group asked if some of the kind of elder experienced members might speak to it some, and I got to be one of the people that did that. And I'm just going to share, I'm obviously not going to mention any names, but I'm just going to share the precise message question and then my response, and then I'm hoping that'll be feed and fuel for a lot of good stuff. So it had to do with sponsors not providing a ton of support and guidance and direction. And the question posed was, I wanted to ask for experience, strength, and hope on this. Does the sponsor need to provide direction? Sorry if this is a silly question. I hear that we seek guidance slash direction from higher power only, and the sponsor only shares their experience with whatever the topic is. Some sponsors explicitly make a point of not giving guidance or telling a sponsee what to do. I think this may be something I have thought about a lot, being in a particular program where there's a lot of guidance and AA literature shared around their substance, versus a fellowship where you put down one substance, and don't have to engage with it at all after then. I'm not sure I understand that completely, but the important part of the question was asked. And so I responded by sharing that my experience is that I had a number of sponsors who couldn't really sponsor me because that was how I wanted it. I wanted to feel I was in control. I was desperate to continue to feel I was in control. Even with the woman I think of as my first real sponsor, despite my absolute desperation and need of help, I bristled and resisted the help nevertheless. And yes, I said, it has become very popular in the 12-step community to describe sponsorship that way. It sounds good on paper. After all, God is the ultimate authority, but the big book is clear that we are warped and sickened, delusional, not sane. We are in no position to effectively discern. What I believe to be godly inspiration is often faulty reasoning and or perception. And AA, slash big book is not self-help. That's self-help. I need someone able and willing to say to me things like, my slash our experience with that is, what the big book suggests slash AA history shows is, what that looks like in practice is, I slash we tried that too, but it didn't work. What we agreed to is, the commitment you made is, you asked me to help you and take you through the steps as I was in order to recover. If you don't need my help or don't believe you need my help, I need to find someone I can help. So et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then I said, one of the best things about sponsorship is that I get challenged to reconsider my current stubborn positions. And I have many. Sponsoring myself is absolutely deadly if a real alcoholic. Alternatively, if not a real alcoholic, I may be able to use this as a self-help, sort of talk therapy support group. I will say there does seem to be a shift in sponsorship with long-term recovery. Sponsors usually go about things a little differently. Often there is less direction. But direction is needed earlier on because we are sick and can't possibly find our own way, no matter how desperate we are to. How it works begins with, never have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program, usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. At the bottom of the page, it says, some of us have tried to hold on to our old ideas and the result was nil until we let go absolutely. In many circles, people talk about finding their way their journey, their past, their truth. But that's just not a big book. It's really not. I'm very, very grateful for those willing to sponsor. Um, I really understand today what a tough job it is, and how very often it's not appreciated, at least not at the time. And yeah, so I just really wanted to share. Oh, it worked out perfectly. I just really wanted to share that. I feel like I don't have time to really talk about it, but I just thought there was an awful lot in there, and kind of hopefully between what I read and I guess it was all read, but hopefully between what I read and shared, there'll be plenty of us to I feel like the 12 step is something you could give so many different talks on, looking at it from so many different angles. But thank you again so much for letting me share my experience. And I try to be sure to always say, for anyone here live, my number is on the screen. You'll see, and I am on WhatsApp if you're not in the States. And because I am in the States, the whatchamacallit number is just a 1. I always forget to put the 1 because we don't do that here. But I really, really, really love taking calls from all over the world and doing anything at all I might be able to support someone and help. I do sponsor men and women. And yeah, so I just want to be sure to say that. And anyone who's not here live, I know Justin would be happy to pass on my info, and I don't need any warning or anything like that. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And yes, Debi, I'm very happy. Anybody who wants to reach out to connect with Debi, send me an email at rico12pod@gmail.com, and I'll get you connected with Debi. And I've had those connections with her and reached out to her a couple of times and had these conversations. She's very helpful. Her experience, strength, and hope is very solid and rooted in Big Book and in the AA history. And I'm really grateful for that. She's really been a help to me. All right, for those of you here live, if you have a question for Debi, please type it in the chat. I'll read it to her. If you want to remain anonymous, you can either direct message it or just say anonymous, please, and I won't read your first name as we do this, as this is recorded. So we keep it as, the traditions request, and I'm really grateful for that and this opportunity. So Debi, one of the things I wrote down several questions here, and we've got so far one question from our live audience, and we'll get to that and we'll get more. But you talked about the birth of AA, the launch of recovery being when the second person, Dr. Bob, got sober. And I just find that so powerful. And as you shared that, I reflected on my own experience. Yeah, I got abstinent coming to meetings. I got sober working the steps. But it wasn't until I started working with others that I think I felt that recovery, that awakening happened. So talk to us a little bit more about that. Hey, Spearheads, if you're looking to dive deeper into the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous with people who live the solution, then you won't want to miss Rico 12 Big Book Roundtable. Join David G., Nikki M., and me, the moderator Justin B., 3 recovered addicts from multiple fellowships, as we break down the Big Book line by line. In each 30-minute episode, we share our experience, strength, and hope in a real, raw, and practical roundtable discussion. So, if you are ready to learn and apply what you learn, tune in to Rico 12 Big Book Roundtable on your favorite podcast platform.
Yeah, for me too, it is just like it's all sort of in retrospect. I'm always a little slow and behind on things, but it also seems really clear to me how instrumental that was, and not even just I mean, I think it might be the reason that I feel as much a real member. For many, many, many years, I was kind of using AA, or so I thought. I was sort of visiting AA. I was taking advantage of AA in a lot of ways, but that's my personal story. That may not be everyone's story. But I mean, I was coming around to get, free this and free that, and get the boys to work on my car. And, I mean, I was just a mess. I was not I was not very sober. But I mean, I wasn't drinking or using, but I was not very sober. And yeah, for me, it wasn't until like I can remember, and this was a lot of years ago, I can remember the first person I um had the experience of walking them through all 12 steps. Like they made it through. That was huge. And that was not my first or second or third sponsee. That was a bunch of sponsees in. And there was a lot of perceived failures, but now in retrospect, I look back and I think, God, that was the magic. Like that's the process. Um, I'm just trying to get back to what you said at the very beginning because it really touched my heart, and then I got a little bit focused on that one piece. But oh, and I forgot to say, and I think I will now because just sometimes it helps my insides calm down a little bit. I have some stuff going on with my health that's affecting my cognition, and it's fairly significant. And I have some stuff going on right now where it's been a little bit worse. So I'm just having a little bit of trouble with that. So if you notice that, that's all it is. And um I'm not really that nervous. I'm not really that self-centered, but it's just I have a lot of trouble with connecting and remembering and processing and tracking, and then I don't like it when that happens. But so I suppose there's still a little bit of self in there. But yeah, so if I ask you to repeat something, forgive me.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you, Debbie. And I completely, I'm praying with you and for you. That's where we're at with that. So you said, as you shared that you weren't drinking, you weren't using, but you weren't very sober. Do you mind kind of defining the difference between maybe abstinence, sobriety, recovery might be in that same bucket? What are the differences there in your experience?
Yeah, I feel like we were just talking about this the other day. I can't remember, I can't seem to bring any context to mind, but it's really clear to me today. I don't know how long this has been clear to me, but it's really clear to me today that alcohol was removed long before the obsession of self was, long before. And so, even though alcohol was truly removed, like just plucked out of me, I was still nuts. I was still nuts. I was still very uncomfortable. I was still very unhappy. I was still in that condition of like needing a fix. I needed a fix. And even though, thank God, I didn't have to drink, even though that had been fixed for me, if you will, I still needed something because I was not in good shape. And so just to share a little tiny bit, when I first got sober, I got here, a bit of a train wreck, like a lot of us do. I was I was smoking and, overeating and, doing things around men and relationships and, and compulsively anything you can think of that one can do compulsively. I was probably doing it. And when I got sober, which again was not very sober, but when alcohol was removed, what I did, I imagine without realizing it at all, is just kind of doubled up on all those things. So I went from smoking, pack and a half a day to smoking. No, 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 I'm sorry. By the time I got here, I was smoking like 2.5 packs a day. And I went from smoking 2.5 packs a day to almost four. Like so yeah, I just sort of doubled up on things. And my relationship with food had never been normal, had never been healthy. There'd always been something there. But man, when alcohol was removed, it went through the roof. And also, when cigarettes were removed, which happened at about 3.5 years, I think, something like that, 3.5, 4. When cigarettes were removed, food went even further through the roof. And so, there's been these stages. And I'm 32 years sober. I think I'm about 28 years off cigarettes. over 20 years, completely free from food. And I think over 15 years, completely debt free, which is huge for me. And I don't have a date or years regarding men and relationships and all that kind of stuff. Cause it just, what to me, that was just part of the whole deal. But it means a lot to me today to be able to say with integrity that men are safe from me today, that everyone is safe from me today, but in particular that men are safe from me today, that your men are safe from me today. And I'm really grateful for that, because I was not, it means a lot to me to be a safe person. It means a lot to me to be a good person. It means a lot to me. The best compliment I've ever received was when that first real sponsor called me a good AAer. And I can't even say that without choking up. I don't even know if that's a compliment, but I mean, nothing has ever meant more to me than when she said that to me.
Mm.
And, yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I love how you shared. And I've got a sponsee who says, you know what, women are safe from me, and that's something that never was something he ever thought would be possible. And I'm just grateful to hear that from people. And I can say that about myself too. What a miracle that is. Thank you for sharing that. We got a question from our live audience. This comes from Nikitas. Nikitas says, I've heard about two-stepping a program, step 1 and step 12, do meetings and calls. And there are fellows that believe that this works for them. I've had a spiritual experience just accepting powerlessness and then working with others. Can you share your experience with this, Debi, and what you've seen in the rooms practicing this two-step theory?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that kind of thing. And I've seen a lot of that and a lot of other things that aren't, what AA Big Book suggests. And I've not seen any of them go well. I've seen a lot of craziness, a lot of harm, a lot of um, real real damage to AA as a whole. Actually, I think the most important thing in my experience is that it just doesn't work. The steps are written the way that they are, and designed to be taken in addition to the way that they're laid out, literally in that order, building upon one another and ultimately resulting in this 12 step. So if the 12 step is a result of 1 through 11, you can't do the 12 step with just one. It's a practical, literal material world kind of thing, which sometimes makes it easier for us that are very, very much thinkers and can talk our way into and out of just about anything. It's pretty simple. That's not the design. And I've never seen it work. And it really does do an awful lot of harm.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I know that, based on your and my interactions and our conversations we've had, you are a staunch defender of AA and you don't want to do harm. And I'm so grateful for that and for that example. Thank you for sharing that. Next question comes from our live audience. This is from Trey. Trey says, what are some ways that sponsees can honor their sponsors?
Mm-hmm. By carrying the message to the next man. And I know that probably sounds there's a word that I'd like to use that I can't think of right now, but it doesn't matter. But that really is not only the best way, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous, it's perfect, but it's also the only way. It really is the only way, if you ask me. People sometimes misguidedly try to, well, I'll tell you one exception. I was going to say misguidedly they want to directly pay them back because they have, sometimes have this feeling of this person saved my life. I had that feeling about my first real sponsor. I understand today that that's not quite the truth, but I mean, that's what it felt like. It felt like she saved my life. And I'll tell you, the way that she gave of herself and her time and what she gave to me, I will be eternally grateful to her, eternally grateful. And one other way that you can honor your sponsor is, if ever they are ailing, got maybe, dying someday. Our sponsors often are older than us, show up, show up in the hospital, show up at the bedside, show up on the deathbed. There's no greater way to honor someone than to show up with gratitude, to have gratitude in action. My first real sponsor was my sponsor for about 11 and a half years, I think. She's not my sponsor anymore. She hasn't been for a long time. I've had a number of sponsors since then. And to this day, I cannot tell you, like, there just aren't good enough words. I can't tell you how much love and gratitude and respect I have for her and what she did for me. And in this lifetime, if there is ever anything, and I mean anything, I might be able to do for her, I would be like anything anyone could do for her. I'm going to be at the front of the line. I'm going to be at the front of the line. And to me, that's, it's gratitude in action. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And I feel that same way about my first sponsor. I, like you, have had many sponsors, but that first one has a special place in my heart. And I also have that same feeling for my Ebby Thatcher, the person who said, okay, it's time to work the steps. Here's how you do it. And I'm grateful for that. All right. We have another question from our live audience. This is from Vishwas. Says, as we understand that 12th stepping is to carry spiritual experience by doing 1 through 11, the first 11 steps with a newcomer. If a person has not done the 12 steps, maybe due to many reasons, but is still sober, can that person 12th step, can that person work with others at that point? Or what are your thoughts on that? Hey, Rico 12 Spearheads. If our recovery resources have helped you, please consider a donation. Your financial support, as well as your word of mouth support, keeps Rico 12 running and reaching the man who is still sick. Donate today at rico12.com/support or check the show notes for PayPal and Venmo links. Every contribution helps carry the message. Thanks for being a Rico 12 Spearhead.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, it's not funny at all, but AA, like there are some, the higher structure of Alcoholics Anonymous, there is some that I think is technically, this is way above my, sort of pay grade, if you will. But I think there is some technical, formal sort of bylaws and such. But for the most part, at our level, at this level, there's no laws, there's no hard rules. I mean, I suppose anyone can do anything they choose to, and not only will they suffer the consequences, but everyone else will as well. But I mean, because that's just the reality of the situation. But if the question is more about, should this be done? Can it safely be done? The answer is absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's not that you have no value. It's not that you can't care. It's not that you can't want to help. But if that's the case, if you truly do the work, get hooked up with someone, allow them. See, we have to be positioned to sponsor. So if you're not yet positioned to, everyone has that opportunity. Everyone. If you're not yet positioned to sponsor, get positioned to sponsor. Get with someone who is positioned to sponsor, maybe even a longtime experienced sponsor, and let them get you positioned to sponsor. Let them help you get. Yeah. To me, am I on track? Yeah. To me, that's really the only answer.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. I have a follow-up on that based on, some big book verbiage and also things that I've experienced in my own recovery and watched. When it comes to getting a sponsor and being a sponsor, the big book says we made the approach. We approached the newcomer and did that. We made the approach to do that. What is your take? How do you pick up sponsees? How do you make that approach?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I actually had that marked in my book, and I don't think I came across that when I was, going through the book. But yeah, I actually noticed it this morning when I was sort of prepping my book, or at least trying to, and ran out of time. Um, it does say, I imagine in many different places, but I noticed it in the 12th step today that in one of the readings I was going through, that we approach them. And I don't know about you guys, but I see and hear a lot. Like, people say this like it's AA law, that it's, and they'll even say it with a little bit of like like being a bit condescending, and they'll say like it's attraction, not promotion. If they want, if they want what I have, they'll come to me. That's not what the book says. The book talks about trolling for drunks. The book talks about, and I did miss this, darn it. It was marked in my book. It talks about our need for the prospect, our need to give back, our need to work with them. See, as much as the newer member needs help, and for sure they do, and that's our focus. That's our primary concern. And we absolutely must have people to work with to to experience this, to have this, to keep this, to continue being awakened. Like, there's no way around it. And so I this might sound a little bit like I'm exaggerating, but I promise you I'm not. I put my number on my screen absolutely always, everywhere I go, in hopes that that in and of itself might help. I try to show up to meetings, and I'm pretty good at showing up to meetings early, on camera, participating in some way, or at least offering to support and help in some way, staying behind the meeting, looking for anyone who appears to be new or newish or returning or just still suffering, maybe not looking like they're doing so great. I reach out to people in private chat. I do online only because of my health, so that's why you're hearing all the Zoom technology, Zoom language. But I do private chat. I do public chat where I just say I'm available, to sponsor, take tents, whatever. With my number again. I get on every meeting list I can. I get on every spot available to sponsor list I can. I'm on my 12-step call list at my local central office. And I frequently just tell people in conversations, especially when they share something that, makes it clear to me that they're having a bit of a rough time, and, maybe don't have a sponsor, or having trouble finding a sponsor, or having, have a sponsor that's not really sponsoring them. And, there's so many different things, but I will just offer. I will just offer. And I've even done, like, in the last couple of years, some things that I've never done before, which is I've even offered to some people that I've just kind of grown a heart for, that um don't even identify as alcoholics, aren't members of Alcoholics Anonymous, don't attend AA meetings, but are suffering and trying to use the AA Big Book model. And I've offered to help them in any way I can, which is highly unusual and not what I've done. But I think it's just anything I can do to help. And I have a little group chat that I do on WhatsApp that I post things on, and I fairly frequently will say, I have some time if I can do anything for anybody, or I'm, home most of the day today. And, the most important thing I want to say about that is I do it because it's my job, my duty, my responsibility, and a great, honor and pleasure to give back in any way I possibly can to AA, of course. But also I do it because I need it. Like, I need it. I need to be doing this work. I need you. Like, I need to be helping you for me to continue healing. And I just want to say, believe it or not, at 32 years sober, honestly, as I just described, being that readily available and making certain, doing everything I can think to do to make certain everybody knows I'm that readily available. I have one person that's letting me take them through the book right now. Isn't that crazy? Seems like I should have dozens. But see, we're not all that's what we're dealing with. I mean, we're very, very, very sick. We're very, very, very resistant. We think we know, we think we can and must figure this out on our own. And it's hard to find people that will let you help them.
Yeah. Thank you for walking through that. And yeah, it is. When you find somebody that's like, all right, I'm all in, it's like, woohoo, you get super excited about it. And I love the quote. I think it was Bill C. you said that said something like, nothing has healed me more than trying to help you. And I've recognized that in my own experience too, with, working with others. I do have one more question for you before we start wrapping this up, Debi. You talked about, let's see. This is a quote. I think you quoted this. We find undreamed rewards when helping one who is even blinder than me, slightly less insane. I remember my first sponsor saying something to me when I kind of put him on a pedestal once. He goes, "Dude, the only difference between you and me is I've been sober a little bit longer than you. I'm a little bit more sane than you, maybe. That's the only difference between us." Talk to me a little bit more about your take on that.
Yeah. I suspect, I mean, I don't know if I can't speak for anyone else. I don't know if it's like this for everyone, but I suspect there's some um, kind of stage progression, something when you get beyond, maybe the first few years, the first decade into more, many years, multiple decades. There are some real shifts in consciousness and changes that take place. And um, so, so sorry. Can you please repeat the question, or at least a couple of words that will get my?
Just basically, I'm a little bit more sane than you. Finding the
Oh yeah,
undreamed
sorry. That's
rewards
all
when
I
helping
needed.
one
So
who's even
sorry, my
blinder. Yep.
brain just clicked off. Yeah. So I think there was a point in my recovery that was absolutely true. No question about it. And there's still I can still sort of appreciate, but I'm not sure that's literally true anymore. And I think it's important for those of us for whom it's not, that we be honest about that we let people, because I think sometimes there's a lot of false humility and we don't want to sound like we're, and I get that. But at the same time, we need people to know that this gets better and better and better, and you get more and more healed, more and more free. And I would not say that today. I'm not just a little less crazy. I'm not just a little bit better. I'm a lot less crazy. I'm a lot better. The condition of my soul, the condition of my spirit, the condition of my life is infinitely, infinitely better than it's ever been for me. And then I see a lot of our, struggling members, whether they're new or not. I mean, I know people with time that are, living with their kids or living with their folks or living in a garage, and not that it's always the outside circumstances, but that does tend to point to something not quite going super well sometimes. But I think the most important thing is when people are still tight. That's a word that they're sort of tight and tense, and you can see there's tension. You can see it, you can feel it. It's like that, ready to blow thing that's just sort of there right under the surface. There's people that are very touchy, still very prickly, still very aggressive and quick to anger, and kind of telling people off and trying to straighten them out, and like being condescending, and I don't know. So I don't. I guess what I sort of feel like is you just have to be um have a little more experience and be in a little better shape and get just well enough to be of help to the next man. But in doing that, you will get much more well much more well, and you will continue to get much more well. And probably that's probably not very good English, but you will. I mean, you really, really will. And today, I can't even tell you how, like, the words that come to mind are peace, comfortable existence, that whole not fighting anymore, I'm just so relaxed and comfortable and good, and not on rare occasions, like almost all the time. Almost all the time. That's what's happened for me. All that turmoil and craziness and mental masturbation, that pops up once in a blue moon. And I have some really great tools to deal with it, and it works like magic, and it works fast. Like I don't get stuck in things for long periods of time. I can sometimes do a 10 step in like 2 minutes, and it's just gone. And that's not to, like, that doesn't say anything about me. That says everything about the program and how continuing to work with others and doing everything you can to help them results in this condition of, rebirth. I mean, the big book says we're reborn. We're given this brand new way of life, and it has done its thing with me. It has done its thing with me. So I hope I answered that well enough.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Debi. Do you have any quick final words of wisdom before we start closing this out?
I don't think so, but thank you so much.
Awesome. Happy to have you here. Thank you so much for your share, Debi. It was very good, very amazing. If we missed your question out there in the live audience or the recorded audience, or you'd like to continue this conversation, join our WhatsApp community. Send me an email. I'll get you set up with that. Rico12pod@gmail.com. If you haven't yet, please consider rating and reviewing the podcast in Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It's a great way to get this out there to more and more people who need to hear this message. Come back next Saturday, same time, same place, as we continue this phase of Rico 12. Actually, while during this meeting, I got a little ping saying that speaker that I had set up will not be available next week. So if anybody out there in the Rico 12 world is like, hey, that works for me, shoot me an email. Let's get it lined up. All right. So we'll close out here with a prayer. Debi, will you please close us out with that Dr. Bob's third step prayer, or a different prayer if it's come to you?
Yeah, I always feel a little bit funny when I'm like giving a talk on 1 or 12 and I use Dr. Bob's third step prayer, but it's just become one of my very, very, very favorite prayers. So I'm just going to use it. It always applies. So this is at least a version of Dr. Bob's third step prayer. There may be more than one version, but it's a little bit long, so I'll just read it to us. I don't think you'll really be able to join in, but dear God, I'm sorry about the mess I've made of my life. I want to turn away from all the wrong things I've ever done and all the wrong things I've ever been. Please forgive me for it all. I know you have the power to change my life and can turn me into a winner. That cracks me up every time. Thank you, God, for getting my attention long enough. Thank you, God, for getting my attention long enough to interest me in trying it your way. God, please take over the management of my life and everything about me. I am making this conscious decision to turn my will and my life over to your care, and am asking you to please take over all parts of my life. Please, God, move into my heart. However you do it is your business, but make yourself real inside me and fill my awful emptiness. Fill me with your love and Holy Spirit, and make me know your will for me. And now, God, help yourself to me and keep on doing it. I'm not sure I want you to, but do it anyhow. I rejoice that I am now a part of your people, that my uncertainty is gone forever, and that you now have control of my will and my life. Thank you, and I praise your name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Debi. Remember, everybody, there is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find God now. Keep coming back. And when you do, come all the way in, sit all the way down, stay. Let's trudge this road of happy destiny together. Work it. You are worth it.
I've seen stars fall from above. I've fallen in and out of love. I've been high and I've been low. Now I know I just can't do this on my own. I've seen a boy become a man. He got lost without a plan. He's so far away from home. Now I know I just can't do this on my own. Your arms surrounding me. Your touch is grounding me. No longer searching for purpose all alone. 'Cause now I know that I just can't do this on my own. I'm looking for the words to say. You make the world a better place, and I can call that place my home. 'Cause now I know that I just can't do this on my own. Your arms surrounding me. Your touch is grounding me. No longer searching for purpose all alone. 'Cause now I know that I just can't do this on my own. So let me see just what you need to set you free, so we can be. I saw stars fall from above. I fell in and out of love. I got high and I fell low. But now I know that I just can't do this on my own. No, I just can't do this on my own. I just can't do this on my own.